It's not about regrowing and regenerating new hair cells in the cochlea of your inner ear. It's about repairing and strengthening your hair cells that you already have. This was exactly the information and conclusion I was looking for. Now I was pretty certain about the how and the why the remedy would work, but something was still missing. In the back of my mind, I kept thinking, why hasn't anyone connected these dots? Why hasn't this information become mainstream? Why doesn't everyone know about this already? Yeah, I'm a smart guy, but there are a lot of people in this field who spend all of their time researching this. I know I'm not the only one who has put these pieces of the puzzle together. So I started asking questions. I had met a few researchers and scientists while I was conducting my research, so I reached out to them and shared with them my findings. They were not surprised in the least. They admitted that they had the same conclusions, so I simply asked them, why hasn't this been all over the news? Why isn't this common knowledge? The answer that I repeatedly got made me sick to my stomach. Brace yourself, because if you or someone you love is suffering from hearing loss or deafness, you're going to be furious. While these researchers and scientists are good people doing great work, they are only able to do their work because of the funding they receive. The funding pays for their salaries and provides the equipment and laboratories for them to conduct their research and experiments. But the dirty little secret is in who is providing the funding and who owns the rights to their findings. Fact is, the vast majority of the funding of these projects comes from the medical device industry, the same people who create the hearing aids and cochlear implant devices. And from what was carefully, quietly, and cautiously leaked to me is that these companies make the funding contingent on them owning the legal rights to any findings that are made. If they are able to turn the findings into a product that they can make money on, they do it, and that is fine. But here's the slap in the face. If there's a breakthrough that they can't make money on, they still protect their rights with patents and trademarks and so forth. But then they bury it. They protect it so no one else can use it, legally anyway, and they squash it never to see the light of day again. Think about it. If there was a simple way to cure your hearing loss that everyone knew about and everyone could affordably have access to, the $6 billion hearing device industry would no longer exist. They are doing everything in their power to make sure that never happens. They are not going to let their precious cash cow be slaughtered. They are protecting it in every way they can. That includes using the legal system and top-notch, bloodthirsty vampire lawyers to their fullest potential. But let me get back to my story. At this point, I was convinced that the Navajo medicine man's recipe would have a pretty good chance of helping Sarah. So I went to the grocery store and health food store to gather all the ingredients that the recipe called for. I spent that afternoon preparing the remedy. As soon as it was ready, I took it to Sarah and explained the whole story to her because I hadn't mentioned anything about the Navajo remedy to her and how it came about. I was expecting her to be so happy at the effort I made and fascinated by my grandfather's story and enthusiastic to try the remedy. But that was not the reaction I got. She thought I was nuts. She thought I totally lost my mind. She told me, "You're not a doctor. What the heck is that crap?" Once she settled down and after we laughed quite a bit, I was able to convince her to at least try it. I knew one dose wasn't going to do anything because the directions said to take it once a day for a minimum of 3 weeks. And I had to make a batch every few days. But I wasn't going to tell her that, at least not yet anyway. I had to get her to take the first dose. Each day the battle became less and less, and within a week she was taking the remedy without question. As each week passed, I noticed that she was more tuned in on things I was saying. I noticed I was repeating myself less and less, but the real proof came when, in the 3rd week, we were watching TV in bed and she had it at a normal volume and didn't seem to have any difficulty hearing a thing. It was amazing. The next day, I took some of the remedy to my mom. I know it seemed like I used Sarah as a guinea pig, but I didn't want to have to commit to driving all the way over to the nursing home 20 miles away every day for 3 weeks until I had proof that the Navajo remedy was going to work. Wow. I don't know if I sound more like a bad husband or a bad son. Anyway, my heart was in the right place. After 3 weeks, my mother had similar results as Sarah. As far as I could tell, she seemed like she could hear perfectly. I would try to trick her sometimes by whispering to her without moving my lips. "Mom, can you hear me?" Then she smacked me on the head with a newspaper. "Yes, I can hear you." Couldn't believe it. The Navajo medicine man's remedy that was buried in my mom's Betty Crocker recipe book for all these years, hidden right under my nose in my basement, actually worked. Over the next few months, Sarah and I shared our findings and the remedy with our family members, and we received a ton of incredible feedback. Aunt Edna was ecstatic that she didn't have to wear a hearing aid to watch Jeopardy now. And Sarah's cousin Jimmy said he's getting much better tips at his part-time bartending job now that he doesn't have to make his customers constantly repeat themselves. The family stories go on, but I wanted to do something more with the remedy. I wanted to make it available to anyone and everyone. So I asked Sarah what she thought. She felt the same as I did, but she was concerned about the legal ramifications that may pop up. That was a wise concern, considering that the hearing device business is huge and growing, and the corporate fat cats would go to great lengths to make sure nothing got in their way. Think about it. In America alone, 48 million people suffer from hearing loss. That's nearly 1 in every 6 people, and hearing aids can cost as much as $2,000, and the cost of a cochlear implant surgery can be downright mind-boggling. If you add up the evaluation, surgery, device, and rehabilitation, cochlear implant surgery can cost as much as $100,000. That's insane, especially when you consider that there's natural ingredients in the Navajo medicine man's remedy recipe that cost practically nothing that can cure hearing loss and make everything sound normal again. And it only takes a few weeks for everything to sound crystal clear and for you to be able to hold normal conversations without missing a word or feeling like you're miles away. So with all that taken into account, we decided that we had better consult with our lawyer before we did anything. And it's a good thing we did, because he pointed out some scenarios that we hadn't even considered. He also confirmed our suspicions that it was highly likely that the sharpshooter lawyers of the hearing device industry would be eventually gunning for us. Even though the Navajo medicine man remedy has been used for centuries, long before the United States even existed. And in my mind, I can do whatever I want with the remedy since it was given to my family and I do have Navajo ancestry in my bloodline. But fighting this in the court system would take years and probably bankrupt me long before I even had a shot at winning the battle. Sarah and I certainly had a lot to think about. We could forget about it and comfortably ride off into the sunset, living out our retirement as we always had planned and prepared for. Or we could go for it and risk losing everything we had worked so hard to build. We could lose our life savings and even our home. After a week of deep discussion and plenty of umming and ahhing, we decided that this remedy landed in our laps for a reason, and it wasn't just to be dumped back in a recipe book to be lost again possibly forever. We knew that by publishing this remedy, we could improve the quality of life for people all around the globe, and we could make a huge impact on the world. So we decided to go for it, but we wanted to do it smart. We wanted to protect ourselves from the legal leeches that were certain to come after us. We decided to put the remedy recipe into a book and sell it at an extremely affordable price. In the book, we also tell you about the Navajo people, their culture and traditions. The book even tells you about different herbs that the Navajo people use to heal various ailments. It really turned out to be an amazing book that is overflowing with value. And by selling the book, along with the incredible Navajo remedy that has reversed hearing loss for over 33,477 people and counting, even at this insanely low price, we have been able to establish a decent legal defense fund. It's a good thing we did too, because it didn't take long for the legal battles to begin. These vampire lawyers are diligently working to shut us down. Now they are trying to get a court injunction to force us to take the site down, even before our arguments have been heard in court. And if they do succeed in getting the injunction, we will have no choice but to comply, and no longer be able to offer our book and the Navajo Hearing Restoration Remedy. That reminds me, I never told you the title of the book. It's called The Navajo Medicine Man Remedy That Will Reverse Your Hearing Loss. Here's what some of the people have said about the book. Jane from Bainbridge Island, Washington